This breakdown of TCW Maul's Force Abilities was mainly designed as a sample of Versus Series script writing, and follows a similar format to Gensarai 1's breakdown of Darth Sidious's lightsaber skills. This video was not intended for a Versus Series, but however could be modified for such a breakdown in the future, as my time for Versus videos is rare to come by nowadays. I'm not saying I'm quitting the Versus Series, but rather must take the time to find the time for them. In the meantime, videos like this will come out to analyze characters and their abilities, whether it be force powers or martial arts skills, based on how much I wish to talk about them. For now, I hope you enjoy this breakdown of TCW Maul's Force Abilities. Let's begin. As the Sith apprentice to Darth Sidious, Darth Maul was primarily trained in lightsaber combat and physical combat due to the fact that Sidious was training him as a mere assassin and was incapable of training a full-on Sith while his master Darth Plagueis was still around. However, following his defeat at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Naboo, Maul was forced to channel the dark side for decades until being recovered, which resulted in a far more active use of its power from the renegade Sith. Maul retained his physical augmentation, coupled with an intense use of Dark Rage, the power that kept him alive on Lotho Minor for all those years. His telepathic skills seemingly advanced as well, as when he infiltrated the mind of clone trooper Jesse, and later received a Force vision showing the fall of the Jedi Order and the rise of Darth Vader, which points to a strong precognition on his part. Although Maul seemingly abandoned the Force Cloak ability, preferring a much more upfront presence, it is worth noting that for the majority of the Siege of Mandalore, ex-Padawan Ahsoka Tano was completely unable to sense him, only ever coming into contact with Maul on the Rogue Sith's terms. Where Maul advanced the most in regards to his Force abilities was his offensive application of telekinesis, where his younger self would only employ such powers to affect the environment to better support his dueling skills. TCW Maul was far more blunt and overbearing with his powers. He has successfully breached the guards of General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano with the Force Push ability, and has used Force-based strangulation far more regularly to demonstrate his power over others as a fear tactic. Despite his more blunt uses of the Force, Maul's environmental awareness had not disappeared. During his escape of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Hondo Ohnaka on Florum, he telekinetically ripped a shuttle off a cliff and into their path, and later during his escape of Order 66, he tore apart steel walls of the Venator-class destroyer, using them both as offensive weapons and defensive shields. Something that I do not believe many people think about when discussing TCW Maul is his desire to showboat his power over those beneath him as a fear tactic. When the bounty hunter Sugi threw a knife towards him, he had his apprentice Savage halt the weapon mid-air to frighten all those in the area, and when acting on his own power, he telekinetically redirected Bo-Katan's blaster bolts before using force-based strangulation. Later, during Order 66, he channeled all his strength to rip apart the hyperdrive of the Venator, although I would not be remiss if I didn't remind everyone that he was being amped by the power of the dark side created by the death of so many Jedi. However, for all his growth as a Force wielder, Maul also digressed just as much. His defensive Force walls were little to none, and when faced against opponents equal or above his own power, he was easily ragdolled. He also lacked any knowledge of more advanced Sith abilities, such as sorcery or even Force lightning. And while he did have some ability to resist low levels of Force lightning, this was more due to his physical abilities rather than the Force. Maul also appeared to be somewhat underconfident in his own power when working alone during the dark times. While he did take Savage as an informal apprentice willingly, despite being very confident at the time, After Savage's death, he was very quick to attempt to turn Ahsoka to his side, and later during the reign of the Empire, the young Jedi Padawan Ezra Bridger, which may have been a lack of confidence in his own abilities, especially in comparison to his fellow Sith, notably his master. Ultimately, in regards to his Force powers, I would best describe Maul as a Sith juggernaut, unleashing his power with brute force and brute strength, while being more focused on physical and martial combat. TCW Maul was ultimately a trade-off. Although he gained far more raw power and offensive output, he lost any hope of matching the raw power of other Force wielders and failed to develop his abilities any further than a super high level Dark Jedi.